Because, I mean, it should be. Yeah. Can you test, 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 test? 1, 2, 3, ABC. Come with me. There was an old lady that lived in a shoe. Has it? Are you checking online now? There was an old woman who lived in a shoe who had so many children she didn't know what to do. I can't remember another. I now got to remember another nursery rhyme. Three blind mice, three blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. I have no idea. What mic does it say that I'm on? I don't know. Okay, then. Okay, but I mean, you'll probably hear it here. The question is if you have it off, do you hear it on the streaming? If you have it turned off in the back, I think.
Teresa? Okay, we'll get started. It's 5 o'clock. So the August meeting of the Planning Commission will start. I don't think we need a roll call. We do have a quorum, Ms. Lines. Approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as proposed?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Mr. Smythe and I think
I'll second.
and Pam seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Great. And approval of the minutes from the July meeting. Any recommendations for edits or changes? Okay.
Was that Mr. Davis?
It was Mr. Davis.
Second.
Yep. Seconded by Mr. Smythe. All those in favor of approving the minutes from last month say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Stone, Planning Commission recommendations update.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission. Mr. Chair, thank you. We have August recommendations from Town Council that Planning Commission has forwarded on. The first reading for Town Center, the PD amendment was denied, and that will terminate that application. They will have to request a one-year waiver or come back in the future to have any other future plans reviewed. The rest of these are final readings. The final reading on 1724 Lacannon, the annexation and zoning of area-wide business, that was approved. We had the final reading of a 0.66 acre parcel on Highway 17, zoned AB to remain in the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District, that was approved. Then we had the 2965 North Highway 17, that was annexed and zoned CC. That was approved. Final reading, I'm excited to announce final reading on the 5-year update for the comprehensive plan. That was approved. And final reading for the Highway 17 aggregation of nearly 12 acres of 5 parcels. That was deferred by council. So that's all that staff has. Glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Mr. Stone. Any questions for staff about the Town Council's reviews? Okay, if not, we will move ahead. I assume that all the correspondence was forwarded to us within the parameters.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you for that. Now's the time for general public comment. So we have 3 public hearings on our agenda tonight. So if you care to speak about a specific item on the agenda, you're welcome to do that, of course, and we'd ask that you probably reserve your comments until then. But if is there anything of a general nature you care to bring before the commission, now would be a time to do that. Seeing none, we will close the general public comment period and move to our order of business. 7A, public hearing for street name approval.
Good evening, Chairman and Planning Commission members. Thank you, Peter. So I have the honor to present this request tonight to rename a street in Rivertown after our very dear friend, Bruce Ketting. As you all know, Bruce lost a 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer in June, and although he lost his life, this illness did not beat him or ever get the best of him. He was eternally optimistic. As retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, the core values are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. How Bruce lived exemplified these values. From a 20-year service to our country, to serving his town, his community, his church, his neighborhood, and serving alongside all of us, and all the other things he did that we never knew about. Bruce always and absolutely lived it, with a big grin on his face and a thumbs up all the time, and usually with a witty, self-deprecating joke that went along with it. His very last sit rep, which is Army lingo for situation report, came on May 9th. And as usual, he was funny and positive and full of hope. And he ended his email with a sentence that said, "There's not a fear in me." And I don't doubt it one bit because he was outspoken in his faith and he was confident in where he was going to spend eternity. So, with that, we recommend approval with this street being renamed. And to Bruce, I would say, well done, good and faithful servant. And I know that he has his bride and some family and friends here that would like to speak for the public hearing. So, with that, I'll leave it
Right,
with you.
Michelle, thank you. So very well articulated. Thank you. It is a public hearing, so we welcome comment from the public.
I don't know how anyone is supposed to follow that.
You can go to the mic. Yeah, that's okay. And if you would, for the public record, if you'd state your name and address, please, ma'am.
So sorry. I'm Jennifer Lavoie. I'm one of the residents of Rivertown Parkway and Bradley Lane. We live next to Bruce and his beautiful wife, Marlene. So we want to first thank you guys and thank you, Peter, as well for your help with this, for your consideration in changing the street name in honor of our friend and neighbor, Bruce Ketting. He was just an amazing human. He was a cherished member of our community. He was the neighbor everyone wishes they could have. The first to welcome each of us to the neighborhood, the one we called on with questions about happenings throughout the community, the one who seemed to know just about everything about just about everything. He demonstrated unwavering dedication to the betterment of our neighborhood, contributing to by serving on our HOA board as a volunteer coordinator, to our neighborhood swim team, serving on boards and commissions in local municipalities. Bruce greeted thousands of people coming and going in and out of Charleston at the cruise ship terminal, where he served as guest services agent on the Carnival Sunshine. Bruce's zest for life was truly unmatched. He would get such a kick out of watching us go through this process with the county and the municipalities. We can't wait to see how many different ways GPS can pronounce Ketting. Naming the street after Bruce will serve as a lasting tribute to his legacy and provide a constant reminder of the values of service, compassion, friendship, and community that he so strongly embodied. He was amazing, and there was no one more worthy of being honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And if you would, sir, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brian Oliver, 2845 Rivertown Parkway, right on the corner of Bradley Lane, soon to be renamed, one of our best friends ever. Back in June, all of us here, up and down this street, and the community lost a big, big man. It's the best way I could describe him. Ebullience, bad jokes, good friends. He was the first one to welcome us 10 years ago onto that street when we moved in. He was the first to welcome everyone else that I knew that was there. Amazing friend. He set an example in so many ways, on so many dimensions to all of us. Kids, young people, older adults going through things. He was ebullient to the very end. That was probably what I could say was, even to that time, the last times that we visited him, is I never saw somebody better that I would love to point an example, a way of life, a way to live, all the way to the very end of his life. And it was there. There will not be any time that we walk down this street or see this or go to the community that and people throughout the development that know him will not be remembering him, talking about him, telling stories. There's probably not one tourist that got off the Carnival cruise line of the thousands over the last 5 or 7 years that got off of that ship or got on them that won't remember Bruce Ketting in one way or another. He'll be a part of their life and a part of the stories they'll tell about Charleston. Bigger than that. We wish him well, and we'll be thinking of him for always.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful tributes. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, we will close the public hearing. So those of you that had the privilege of working on this commission or otherwise with Bruce, he was everything that has already been said and more. This could be the simplest decision that this commission has ever made. So with that discussion.
So for a moment, I'm going to pretend this is The Voice, the television show The Voice. That's the golden buzzer.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I think that was a motion, but I'll second it.
Okay, that's great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll push forward to agenda item 7B, public hearing for Venning Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is going to be tough to follow.
Yes, it will.
All right. So this is a request to rezone 2 parcels on Venning Road to AB2. You can see here from the aerial context, this is nearly 1 acre. Right now it serves as a contractor's office and a gravel parking lot on the corners of Halls Pond and Lacannon Lane. The parcel that we just had final reading on to rezone to AB is right here. The parcel is currently AB, and between 2003 and 2009, there were 13 properties within this pocket that were rezoned to AB commercial, and this request involves the applicant proposing a rezoning to AB2. So, taking this request and referencing the future land use, which is community scale commercial, AB2 is within the range of applicable zoning districts for community scale commercial. However, while that is one factor, I do want to bring to your reference here what the code has, and it's not the only factor when we look at the comp plan being and the future land use. It's more multi-perspective than that. The code gives review criteria for rezonings, and you have to ask the question, and these are guiding questions as you look at rezonings. So that you would ask, have there been any changes that would necessitate any changes to the conditions or the circumstances of this property that would necessitate this rezoning? Would the uses allowed from this rezoning be appropriate? Is this a best management practice within planning and zoning for this rezoning to occur? And finally, is this consistent with the whole of the comprehensive plan, not just the future land use map? So, in attempting to answer those questions and respond to this request, I do have additional information that I can go into to kind of help guide that request, but otherwise, the applicant is here, but glad to dive into any other subjects you would like. See in the bottom left-hand corner, I've got some topics that if you had any questions on it, I'd glad to answer.
I mean, to make the best informed decision possible, Mr. Stone, I think I'd like to see it. Is there agreement, other members of the commission? Okay, yeah, if you would, go ahead and share that with us.
So I'll start off with just a bit of historical context. Let's see here. All right, so both of these properties were annexed and zoned AB in 2009 into the town. In 2018, the property owner requested AB2 zoning, just like they're doing now, and this request was denied, citing inconsistency with the comprehensive plan at that time, which designated the area as community conservation. You can see everything here in yellow was community conservation, so that was denied at that time, just with a lack of consistency with the comprehensive plan. The nature of this request is based on the property is currently AB, and our code enforcement officers have noticed that there is outdoor storage of boats and parking of construction vehicles, and that would require AB2, and with a special exception from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that would be followed by a commercial site review as well, but that is the context of this request and why it's before you. If we wanted to look at the surrounding context, you can see, as I mentioned, between 2003 and 2009, a lot of this has been zoned AB. You have some CC in here that we've recently rezoned, but predominantly this is area-wide business commercial. And finally, the comparison between AB and AB2. You can see here that in the AB column, a lot of not permitted, but you get over to AB2 and you get into more of a higher level review with conditional, special exception. Gas station would be permitted, warehousing and automotive repair would be a special exception as well. So there are certainly some differentiations between AB1 and stepping up to an AB2 zoning designation. So that's all that staff has. Glad to answer any question you might have.
Peter, if you would return to the surrounding context overview. Yeah. Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Stone,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have one question too. The parcel that's 1110 on that map is a preschool or some sort of a daycare, I think, isn't it?
That's correct. It's daycare.
Okay.
So there's still quite a number of county parcels in the immediate area, correct? Am I reading the map properly?
That's correct. Everything without a layer on it, and
Yeah.
just that would be within the 4 mile. You have a lot of the 4 mile community here, and this was a part of the 4 mile community. Hungry Neck Boulevard was built in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of has taken on a different identity since.
Okay. All right. Questions for Mr. Stone immediately? If not, we'll ask the applicant to speak if they're here. Is the applicant present? No. Okay. So, any further questions for Mr. Stone on this? If not, maybe we can have a motion.
Public.
I'm sorry.
Public hearing. Yeah,
My
that's
fault.
right.
I apologize. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this particular proposal? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. Go ahead.
I move to approve to rezone to AB2.
Motion's made. Is there a second? Okay. Is there another motion?
I move to deny.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion's made by Mr. Davis and seconded by Ms. Sanford to deny the request to rezone. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed.
One opposed. Okay. Motion to deny carries. All right. 7C, a public hearing for 1076 and 1096 Beehive Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for an aggregate of a total of 1.36 acres. Both of these lots are evenly 0.68. The origin of this request came from sewer and water being available, and these two properties are contiguous, so they are required to request annexation. Of course, if it is eventually denied, they would still have ability to gain water and sewer. So this is the property. It is directly across from Tupelo, just to kind of give you some surrounding context. So it is important to discuss the existing zoning conditions prior to talking about the proposed. So I want to cover this, and this is currently in the county. It's in the 10-mile historic district. It's inside of the urban growth boundary, and that current moratorium ordinance still will apply until July of 26. So I bring this up because we have had a lot of discussion on this subject, but of all of the properties that we've had these discussions on, this one is pretty straightforward because it is within the urban growth boundary. And in speaking with the county, this was, in speaking with the county, I asked about their plans for their 10-mile overlay district because I wanted to make sure that this request would be consistent with that plan. And they did agree that in the plan, and they're holding a public hearing on that new overlay plan on September 8th. And within that proposed plan right now, this is remaining commercial, but the staff member let me know that they want commercial within that overlay, but not to this level of intensity. And I'll break down what I mean by that. Of course, you know that the county's S3 is our town equivalent of CC, community conservation.
Mm-hmm.
Community commercial within the county is the equivalent of our AB2. So it's a very intense commercial. It has intense density, and they are not interested in carrying on that level of intensity into this new overlay district. So it was consistent in that fact. And so this request to zone both parcels to community conservation is consistent with the county's plan, and it's also consistent with our future land use comprehensive plan. So those are the kind of the salient points on that. Again, I do have some just kind of supplementary information that you may want, but glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Stone up front?
No, I'd love to see the supplementary information, please.
Yeah, I
All right.
think so too.
So this is the 10-mile overlay plan that is currently being proposed, and we'll have a public hearing on September 8th. This is the parcel right here in red. This is our subject parcel, and here's the parcel behind it. The plan is to for this to remain commercial and for this to remain residential. But you can see everything in red. Fronting Highway 17 would be commercial. This is all going to remain just kind of an urban suburban residential, and this is your rural area, the parcel that we talked about earlier that is close to 12 acres. And because this is the urban growth boundary line, the density is different than it would be on this side. They're moving toward 1 unit per 3 acres past this urban growth boundary line, and since this is inside it, it definitely makes things a little more simple in reviewing a rezoning request. Let's see. Oh, so this is the town and county zoning comparison, just showing what I mean by community commercial within the county and the level of intensity of uses that it provides versus the commercial and non-residential uses you would get from a community conservation, because it is a kind of a mistake to think that CC, community conservation, is strictly residential. It has non-residential and commercial uses within it that would fit in with what the county is currently proposing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just all of the CC non-residential uses that could be applicable to this site if it is zoned CC. So that's all the staff has right now.
Great, thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Stone at the moment?
Did I hear you say correctly that the county is still in the public hearing process?
Correct.
Okay.
Also, one question, the CC, the parcel that's currently commercial in the county, if it came in and went to CC, even though some of those uses would be allowed, the sort of less invasive type of uses, they would be free to make it residential. I mean, it's up to the developer or the owner. So, is this also part of the moratorium on subdivisions, so that even though it's 3 per acre, if you count those 2 parcels together, it would be 6 per acre, and maybe 7 because there's an extra third of an acre, and then that would not be allowed right now. Am I following that properly?
So I'll take those one at a time.
Okay.
Yes, with community conservation, that is the nice thing about it. You're flexible to do residential, but you're also flexible to move forward with these non-residential and commercial uses. The moratorium would apply here, and it would be 3 units an acre. The moratorium is for anything 5 lots or more.
More than 4.
The wording of it is 4 lots or fewer is a minor subdivision, and those are exempt. But 5 or more would be currently for the next year, July of 26. Those will be prohibited.
Okay.
Additional questions for Mr. Stone? If not, we'll request the applicant to present or provide an opportunity to. Are they present? Yes, sir. Please. If you would, sir, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Keith Barley,
Mm-hmm.
and I reside at 1003 Theodore Road in Allendale.
Okay.
This piece of property has been a rather difficult piece of property to wrap our heads around on how to develop it based on all the different aspects of it, whether in the county or coming into town of Mount Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But after going through, so many different breakdowns and processes with the town and the county on what's available, we've come to the conclusion we'd like to come into the town of Mount Pleasant, but we're looking at just basically building 2 residential houses, 1 on each lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is kind of what our conclusion is, based on, as a commercial lot is basically not large enough to really make sense to develop out with the requirements of parking, setbacks, and everything. So we're thinking just 2 residential houses, 1 on each lot, would be the best use for it. And that's kind of where we're at with it. But we would like to annex into the town of Mount Pleasant to do that.
Okay, great. Anything for the applicant while we've got him? Anything else, sir? Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there are comments from the public that anyone would like to make on this project, now would be the time for that. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion of this particular proposal. All right. Further questions, comments, discussion, or maybe motions?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. I think especially on that front parcel, it's obviously this is more or less a down zoning in my opinion from what the county allows. So I'll make a motion to approve for annexation and rezoning the CC.
Great.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to rezone to community conservation. We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks, Peter. All right. We'll move to 7D, presentation from engineering department.
Yes, she's leaving. This is very casual. This is just going to recap some things, and hopefully it'll be useful to some of y'all. And if y'all are on a schedule, I know this is the last item on the agenda, please feel free to exit on out. But I do, want it to be interactive. If y'all have any questions as I kind of go through this very quickly, just a few minutes of a presentation. And it kind of dawned on me last month that when we went through some of the kind of the legacy type discussions on subdividing property, is that maybe a good presentation of how a lot gets subdivided, some of the steps involved, the planning commission's roles and responsibilities, and then how it moves through the building permit process. And hopefully, if we have enough time, we can talk a little bit about the current workload and volume. But last month, I did hear that things were, you had to approve a subdivision if it met all lot and dimensional requirements, and I tend to disagree with that. I don't think that you are hamstrung into approving a subdivision just because of lot dimensional requirements. There are many other aspects that go into creating a new lot that do need to be considered. And so hopefully this is kind of the start of maybe some discussion on what those aspects can be. Starting from the very beginning, South Carolina is a home rule state, which means that we can make up our own rules and regulations. We are not a creature of the state of South Carolina. We do abide by their rules and regulations, but we can create our own rules and regulations as long as we're not in conflict with the state code. Also, another important piece is something you're probably already familiar with, is the 94 comprehensive enabling legislation that kind of sets the guidelines and standards for creating a comprehensive plan every so often. Because of that comprehensive plan, the state does recognize and support our zoning and land development regulations. Those are the two main chapters when you go to subdivide property. Zoning, of course, sets land use, density, and intensity, and also the design value of what's being created. The land development regulations, the way I look at it, they do go hand in hand. Land development regulations are what I would consider kind of the tools in the tool bag. They're a little bit more technical. They provide the standards. They have safety criteria. They also ensure the integrity of subdivisions, infrastructure that's being installed. And also they're set up to also incorporate or offset the larger impacts that a subdivision would come with it. So those two are somewhat jointly related, and if you did read the state code, they would almost kind of mirror each other in their language. So just the zoning real quick. Hopefully some of y'all have read some of the language straight out of 62930 that does give the Planning Commission the powers and functions to make recommendations as it relates to the use of building structures and land. Also, the density specifically says the density of development. So as we talked about last month or the month before that, we can look at density criteria in say the Old Village area, if that is so choose. Also, open space, size of yards, that's setbacks. The Planning Commission can make recommendations on where that open space is located, if it needs to be moved. A lot of times you'll have open space calculations that are surrounding ponds. Well, the open space around ponds, that's not exactly a usable area. A kid can't throw a ball with his dad next to a pond, obviously. So, those type of things can create commentary or comments and deferral of subdivisions to make sure that those type of aspects are part of a subdivision. Also, it does specifically say other aspects I included: tree preservation, landscaping, which we really don't talk about landscaping. We are really focused on trees, but landscaping is included in the state code, and that allows the Planning Commission to make recommendations on buffer, lighting, and curb cuts. So, so there's a lot of elements that should be considered when you do subdivide property that don't really, have the attention that I think it really should have. So the process, there were some questions I think over here, Ms. Sanford. I believe last month you talked about how what the process was. So I created this neat little graphic here that kind of separates into 12 little tick marks, which kind of represent months, but that's not exactly how this goes. This is somewhat of an exhibit of the steps that are involved with subdividing property. We have something called a DRT, or Development Review Team, that's made up of stormwater, transportation, Mount Pleasant Waterworks, planning department, fire department also joins us on occasions. The first step is to contact our DRT coordinator, Maeve, and she sets up a very high-level meeting with the applicant, and the applicant can set this meeting up at no charge at any time they would like to set this up. There's no set formal schedule for this, and that is sole purpose is to provide the high-level feedback. If you're looking at buying a piece of property, you don't know it's going to be subdivided, have a DRT or DRT feasibility meeting with Maeve. We all get together, look at it virtually. We talk to the applicant. We let them know, is there water and sewer available? Will they have to extend a hydrant to get there? What access, is going to be a concern? The trees, they need to understand what the tree regulations are. So all that stuff is brought to them when they are even thinking about either purchasing a property or how they're going to go about developing the property. It's been very helpful to have that in most everybody that I've been on the feasibility meeting has really appreciated the commentary and the feedback we've provided them, because they're getting ready to make a huge investment or expense with engineering and surveying to get to the next level. The next step, it's a little bit more structured. We do have a monthly schedule with the DRT review. We call that a conceptual plan. That is, okay, you've gone to the next step. You've got scaled engineering drawings. You have your tree survey. You have your other elements that you've investigated. You submit about 2 weeks ahead of the deadline, or you submit prior to the deadline, and that deadline gives us about 4 weeks to get the review and comments done and back to the applicant. Okay, so I've got 1.5 ticks here. That would be a very good submittal. Okay, a lot of times we have comments and they'll resubmit, we'll re-review, and we'll provide maybe another commentary or two, but we end up trying to get them through the process. But if everything works very well and it's an easy, simple 1 lot into 2, it usually takes about 1.5 months to kind of get through a conceptual step. From there, that's where it has to meet the Planning Commission deadline, which is monthly, of course, and that's about a month, 4 weeks ahead of the scheduled meeting, and then we present, a very scaled back staff version. If there's any remaining comments that there with the application, that we read them aloud here for you guys, and then that moves through in about a month. And if there's no infrastructure involved with this subdivision, if it's 1 lot into 2, you can actually, from your planning commission with a favorable vote, you can actually move into a final plat, which gets authorized at staff level. So there shouldn't be really too much left if you're doing a simple subdivision. Now, if you're dedicating infrastructure to the town, it does get a little bit more involved, because there is another step of technical review. That is, the engineer has developed construction drawings to install the streets, drainage, pond, water, sewer. They have their stormwater sediment erosion control. A lot goes into that. 4 months is very tight. Sometimes the applicant is working on that concurrently as he's moving through, but once they get planning commission approval, they become vested, and then they're able or guaranteed to actually go through with their development plan. And of course, we provide comments. It goes back to the applicant. They address the comments, and then it will eventually go through and get a final DRT stamp, and that does include the MS4, which is their water quality, and then they're able to move through with the construction. Now, construction takes years, so just for this exhibit, it just shows a number of ticks. But so when they install the infrastructure, we have our own inspectors. The town does. We have 4 field inspectors. 2 of them, they look at the SWIP, which is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, and the tree protection zone. They provide a clearing and grading permit before they even start construction. They are out there with the contractor, walking the site, making sure that the tree protection's up, making sure the silt fence is up, the construction entrance is in. Then they authorize the clearing and grading for them to move forward. The other 2 inspectors, those are our roadway and our storm water inspectors, or stormwater pipe inspectors. They actually follow the project much closely, working with the contractor when they do the mass grading, the rough grading for the road, the subgrade, the base course, and the asphalt, and of course the pipe gets inspected when it's delivered, and it gets inspected when it's in the trench, and again it gets inspected. The compaction gets inspected at lifts throughout the installation of the stormwater pipe. So there's a lot that kind of goes into installing the infrastructure to make sure that when it's turned over to the town of Mount Pleasant, we have something that is going to last and it's not going to be a burden to the taxpayers. So they move through the construction process. The final plat process, then that occurs at the very end of that process. Whereas if it didn't have infrastructure, it could have occurred in a month or 2. after the planning commission, but because of the construction process, it does occur much later. That is the final leverage and authority that holds the developer to make sure that he does everything he needs to do to have all the infrastructure in place before he is able to sell property. When the subdivision plat gets authorized, they provide the 2-year warranty, they provide the bond, they provide the certification for work material and workmanship, they provide the permits to operate for the water and sewer. Tree mitigation is also done, and there's a whole checklist and the final inspection reports from our field engineers. They're all submitted in one package. It gets signed by staff, and then they take that final plat, go to the Charleston RD office, create the lots. The county gives them tax map numbers, and then they become taxable, transferable, fee simple lots to be sold to individuals to then go vertical. So from land development, now you've got your individual lots, you've got your infrastructure in. Now the homeowner or whoever wants to go vertical. Well, the folks that are involved with that is a combination planning department. They're the authority of zoning, authority of lot orientation and setbacks. The engineering development services, that is my team, which is the engineering and environmental division. We look at the tree standards. This is for single family residents only, by the way. Tree standards, your stormwater management plan. We ensure the quality of the survey and the physical conditions are all incorporated into the submittal. And then the stormwater, we look at that from a perspective of the common enemy rule, which is kind of like the golden rule is what I call, is like, take care of your own water. Don't cast your water over to your neighbors. Make sure that your water is going to where it should be going, to the front or the back. And also don't impede the flow of water that's coming off site. You actually have to manage, if you're on a hill and you're developing downhill, you have to manage that water that's coming to you around your property. You cannot impede the flow of water from off-site if it's naturally coming in your direction. So you can't impede and you can't impact. That's what we say. And also we look at it from a safety aspects too. The access points and things of that nature. So that's what we do when we take a look at it, and then we have the trees located on there as well. So concurrently with the review, our building inspections division, they look at the IBC, the vertical stuff, and they're the ones that are responsible for the building permit administration. So going just a little bit more into that, that's the roles and authority. This is the workflow. So if an applicant comes into the town, they want to pull a building permit, we have an online portal, it's called Oracle, and they're able to upload their plans through our website now. This is fairly new. I think it's about 6-8 months, been around. So we're still working the bugs and the kinks out a little bit, but it's been very effective in tracking what we do internally. All applications come through the building permit division. A part of that application, we have the site plan review that goes in. The planning department looks at it, as well as my division looks at it for the stormwater and trees. That's all part of one bundle when it comes in. Our guys, they go out and they do a courtesy site inspection to ensure the tree accuracy and to identify and recognize any other kind of unique site conditions that could be missing from their plan. And then once that's done, they become building permit eligible. Once the building inspection department is done with their review, then they actually release the building permit at that time. So we hold the building permit until we actually have visited the site, we've looked at the trees, we've looked at the stormwater, and then they're released for the building permit. We do the tree protection zone inspections. We also do the erosion control inspections all at the same time. That's the initial inspection. We don't really go back to that site throughout the development process. We only go back to that site if it's needed. And we also have a final inspection that's all programmed into this software that we have. So, and then the building division releases the certificate of occupancy. Any questions on that particular one? That's very scaled down, but it is a fairly good process where we do have the checks and balances we need by holding the building permit until the site inspection's done. They check off internally when they have completed it, and then they become eligible for a building permit. So it's a very structured
Kevin?
process. Yes, ma'am.
One question. When you say other inspections as needed, is that
Right.
if there is somebody who complains about the site, or if
Yep.
the applicant comes back and says something has changed, I've got an issue?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah, both. If we get a complaint, we go back out to the site. Our guys have already established, hopefully, a good positive relationship with the builder. The builder, his main objective is to finish his project. And so he's willing and able to cooperate most of the time to get whatever the issue is resolved. Because he knows a little bit of grading is very inexpensive to do. But yes, they go back as needed, and we kind of anticipate some problems too. So that is their kind of scaled down process. So shifting gears a little bit.
Can
Workload.
I also
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that inclusive of where I see at number 5, certificate of occupancy? So does that include the construction process too, of like electrical rough-in inspection, plumbing rough-in inspection?
Yep, I did not include that because we're just focusing on the stormwater, tree, and the site plan review.
Okay.
But if I were to include that, there'd be a whole list of those type items that run concurrently with our inspection. So yes, that's all incorporated into that Oracle package there.
And Kevin, if you would, a page or two back, the 2-year warranty, explain that.
Yeah, that 2-year warranty.
Yeah.
Well, it's been standard ever since I've been here is to have the developer and the engineer or developer and contractor sign off on the material and workmanship, and the developer certifying that he will warranty this dedication of the infrastructure for a 2-year period. It is a certification, and it's notarized, certified, put in. We also have a 20% cost of total infrastructure that is also submitted in a financial guarantee to support that, which isn't much, but it more or less represents the intent of the owner dedicating this and being complete. If there are serious problems, of course, then you get into the legal world of back and forth, and they get consultants, we get consultants, and it lasts for many, many years. But there is that show of intent. It is supposed to last for at least 2 years and we do a warranty inspection as well before we release the bond. Yeah. There's a lot that is submitted with those final plat packages that legally covers us the best we possibly can. So touching a little bit on workload, and I'll be done. So something that many folks may not be aware of, I created this little chart here with some information that I received from our building inspections division. This graph shows the past 5 years of what building permits that are not upfits, which means all building permits that are submitted to the town that are outside of an upfit. That's an inside improvement, like decks, ADUs, new homes. That's what these numbers represent. The bottom orange numbers represent the new homes, and the top represents everything else but the non-homes. So as you can see, from 2021, we kind of peaked, and we're trending every year down. And so far, 2025 seems to be a little bit more of an uptick on the new residential homes that we receive, but still, it is still going to be in a downward type of trend. And just to give you a sense of scale and workload, that 2023, that monthly average is 70 and 68 for 2024. That's how many permit applications that go through that process that we just talked about with our with our two site inspectors. So, so yeah, the average the yellow line is the average is 922 permits every year that our building inspection department administers. That I think it's worth talking about.
The all others, that's external stuff, right? And would that include pools?
Pools, additions.
Okay, decks, ADUs, et cetera, like you said, additions. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we our stormwater team inspects the pools, the additions, the decks. So they have to take it through their process. Everything but kind of upfits because you're not doing anything there.
So I had a question. Go back to the previous chart. So 2025, are those numbers to date or are they annualized? Because we still have 4 months left in the year.
No, that's just to date.
So if you were to annualize that number, do you think it would be closer to 2024?
Yeah, we'll probably be closer to 2024 total. Probably a little bit more new homes. I think we've got.
So it's kind of stable and it's like maybe even closer to 2023 then. So so there's really not a downturn as you, if you go back and you analyze all this.
Well, if you want me to go back to 1999 and look at the chart, you'll definitely see a downturn from the early 2000s, the way we were developing, to the last 5 years. You would see a much significant difference between these numbers and those numbers.
And is the takeaway for us that this volume is more manageable for the department, or what should we conclude?
Well, the takeaway is I think there's kind of a little bit of a misconception that those one or two problem children out there, we want to say, that's just one of 800 that we've already seen that entire year. We've had 700 that have actually been a successful process and have gone successfully through a process, but there's that small few that seems to get a lot of attention. And we spent a lot of time on those small handful that sometimes there's really no solution, honestly. It is what it is, and we do the best we can to manage it. But those are the ones that seem to get a lot of the attention when there's 800 that we've already managed and brought through the process. And lastly, this is my last slide here. Is this is done by two stormwater code guys. So I'm the deputy director. I do have a project engineer that looks at all the other projects that come through the town, the commercial as well. But she helps me with. She actually manages the single family code program, and we have two code inspectors. And those two code inspectors, their main job is to build a good relationship with the builder and owner, include the owner in as much as possible with what they're doing, because the builder is telling the owner, and the owner's getting upset, and so I tell them to include the owner as much as they possibly can when matters and issues come up. So that's it. I want to end with this is a kind of an open discussion. This is for y'all to consider, look at, have any ideas. I can come back next month. We can talk about density calculations, other things that are going on in the town. We can show some examples of our stormwater designs and some of the things we do review. We can provide some examples. There's character defining features that we don't really talk about, such as fences. I'm in the old village a good bit. The fences that are going up are very noticeable in a lot of these larger homes that are being built. They're now putting up these huge fences that go all the way to the right of way. So that really changes the character of the neighborhood, in my opinion, is when you block off that view. So that doesn't get any discussion at Planning Commission, at least not that what I've heard. And there's also density. The scale is what we've talked about as well. We also, something that might be worth presenting too, is a residential low impact program. Environmental managers kind of moving through the Green Commission with that, and it might be worth for him to come in and give you an example of what they're planning on doing. Also, another thing that we're doing is very interesting is the sea level rise study. We've targeted a couple of areas. They've got this GIS model that shows the ocean as it comes in 2050 and how it recedes and what areas it actually covers and the depth of those areas. We looked at 2 areas right now in town. That's the end of Hadrill Street and then up there around Darrell Creek, Commonwealth area. We will be releasing that, putting that on the internet pretty soon. But I'd be happy to come and present the findings of those those studies as well. That, of course, could also result in planning commission issues because that's going to have a perception of a threat that's going to be coming into the folks that live on the marsh area, and information is going to be valuable and it's going to be key in that situation because there's going to be some hysteria and fear mongering that's going to go on. So having good information for residents is going to be our main objective in that particular item. And then also we're looking at wetland ordinances too. So we're just now kind of embarking on that. City of Bluffton has approved wetland ordinances for them. The mayor is wanting us to draft up some wetland ordinance that are similar to the Bluffton ordinances, and we are kind of moving through that right now. But yes, we'd be happy to present those or anything else that the Planning Commission would like to see or be a little bit more knowledgeable on. So that's what the purpose of this presentation is. Sorry to take so much time.
No, thank you. Input and prioritization on these topics or others for Kevin? Thoughts?
I think this is great. The only other thing I can think of that I'm always curious about is the commercial side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about the single family,
Sure.
but so many times by the time we see something, a commercial plan presented, it's been undergoing a lot of work, and sometimes developers will say it's been several years. And so I'm kind of curious about that, how can we get a better handle on it earlier before things go so far that developers get upset when they don't get what they intend.
I'll make a note of that, and we will I'll go through the commercial process and we could consider what that all entails. DRB gets involved with that. Design Review Board also gets involved with that. So I think that's a great topic. We'll definitely roll something out and have something similar for you next month.
Thank you.
Other suggestions or requests of Kevin?
Kevin Barry, you don't really want to hear anything about stormwater?
Well, I've heard a lot about it, but Kevin, I like these topics. I mean, I think the density calculations may be good for the group, and then you brought up a good point on the fences. That's a topic. I'm not sure, where or how we could would fall in with that, but it would be good something to look at because as far as I know, there's no regulations associated with it.
No, there's not. And folks will put up a tall wood stockade fence that is a wall. It's a wall, and it goes straight to the ground. And think about it, if everybody else did, what that would do to the actual subdivision itself. So.
And the Oak Village or the Historic District Preservation Commission doesn't follow the guidelines very closely in that regard.
And I can think of one example in an area that does not have an HOA, but it's not the Old Village, where a homeowner has put up these huge, it looks like something going to Windsor Castle. It's like big brick, front fence thing with, I swear they're probably going to have lions on the top of the things. And that is also sort of interesting that it creates a very different feel for the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But there's no HOA. I mean, in mine, we wouldn't allow that. But in places where they don't have those rules. So
Yep,
that's,
and that could be very tricky when you talk about aesthetics,
mhm.
Yeah.
things of that nature. But the scale and dimension,
It's the
we
scale
don't
and
have
dimension
anything.
Right.
Yeah,
and the opaqueness of it all.
right.
Whether it's a big brick wall or a
Yeah.
fence, stockade fence.
Kevin, as suggested a little earlier, I think the density calculations primer on that would make a lot of sense for us right now, especially given the conversation we've had, or maybe the ongoing conversation we had the last 2 or 3 sessions, and some of the concern and pressure that we're hearing from citizens around the community on that very matter. So the more we can understand how to measure and evaluate that, I think the better served we'd be. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, Mr. Day.
Yeah, so I have one question. So the sea level rise. So
Yes, sir.
can you explain that? I mean, we're not the Isle of Palms, we're not Sullivan's,
We're not.
and so is this because of the marsh, or just just what's the point of all that one?
Yeah, we're not saying that the town of Mount Pleasant is anywhere close to being a condition like Isle of Palms or Sullivan's Island. We are saying that there are some pockets and areas within the town that they will and already are seeing some changes in some of their environment when it comes to high tides and
I mean,
getting rid of
like
water.
Long Point Road and areas like that.
Yes, sir. Long Point Road will be one of our lowest points. Matter of fact, William Street in the old village is elevation 3.4 mean sea level, and that is the lowest point, I think, in Mount Pleasant there. And they flood even on a sunny day.
Yep.
At a regular high tide. They get water in the street. So they're going to be significantly impacted in 50 years. But it's time to kind of provide that kind of information because it's already being talked about. So having information available to residents that are concerned, that they hear gossiping and things like that about how bad it's going to be or what the conditions are, I think it would be good to have reliable information for those concerned citizens that we have in those low areas.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Anything else? Well, in rough form, I think you've got some sense for the
Right.
interest and priority. So great.
Yeah, let's we can do the sea level rise in a couple of months. We can do the commercial review process next week, and then we could talk about some of the density calculations. And what we
Could you
have.
do the commercial the month after next? Because I'm not going to be here next month, and I want to hear it.
Do
Just
density.
point of personal,
Sure.
preference.
Yeah, we'll talk about density at next month, and then
Great.
we'll do the commercial after that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
David, rules of procedure for 2025, or maybe that was Mr.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that actually goes hand in hand with what Kevin was discussing. This was brought up by Miss Ireland of getting items on the agenda sponsored by members of the body. So this is based on what we heard last month. I've revised the text in this proposed revision and would just need y'all to vote up or down on whether you're okay with the language, and that would allow for a member of the body with at least 2 additional sponsoring board members and at least 15 days in advance to add agenda items to the meeting.
I move to adopt the language as amended, should I say.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great. I think that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that, gentlemen. Okay. I think we're adjourned.
Thank you.
See you, Peter.